Hi everyone, JC here. How's it going? I haven't been really active on this channel recently, but I've been active on other channels, and that's been my priority. That's why, just not much material has been made here. But I do have some plans going forward. Of course, there's going to be a bit more content, but mainly I'm just focusing on my other projects right now. One of which is a kind of huge musical project I'm trying to launch next year. Right now, I'm busy editing the videos for each track. Um, and Yeah, that just takes a lot of time. Well, this is literally going to be my last video of the year. I mean, I'm probably going to stream League of Legends later, but that's just like a side thing. But as far as kind of serious video is concerned, that's going to be it for the year. And today, I'm going to do a kind of overview review of the events in 2024. Now, of course, these are, you know, kind of cherry picked. I mean, of course, if you live somewhere like in Italy, for example, and something happened in Italy, I might just not be aware of it, and so yeah, we'll just go with kind of the top events that were ranked on the internet. There's two categories I want to go through. The first one is kind of politics, and then we're gonna go into more a bit cultural, natural disasters, and yeah, kind of miscellaneous things. Okay, so let's start with politics. I think 2024 has been very chaotic when it comes to politics. It's not just the U.S. Of course, the U.S. That I don't have the words anymore. Like I honestly don't know how, like, that this person has committed crimes. He was convicted of crimes. uh During his first term, he pretty much exploited the office to enrich himself and his buddies. And I always yeah, I know that he always postures as this kind of anti-establishment guy, but the problem is, like, he is the establishment, and he's just a great bullshitter. That you got to give him credit. He is great at bullshitting people and lying to people. And it's kind of like that expression we had before, like, if you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes the truth. Now, of course, in reality, it does not. But if you're like a stupid person and you don't have any rational thinking, critical thinking ability, then for you, yes, it's absolutely true. The more kind of somebody hammers in some information, the more it becomes true. And this is also like one reason why in the States we have so many religious people, because these people they don't have any critical thinking skills. They can't think rationally. They don't understand arguments and how arguments are formed, what is argument validity and what is argument soundness. They don't know any of that. So for them, like, if they go to church and every week, the pastor kind of hammers in certain points, they're just going to go with that. They're just going to accept it at face value without, like, thinking about it, without uh saying, you know what, that sounds crazy, that can't be right. They're not at that level. They don't operate at that level, and this is something that um we just have to, like, uh acknowledge that. And a lot of people say, like, we're all equal and blah 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 blah, but we're not. That's the thing. Like, our intellectual capacity is absolutely not equal. It's just not. So the States was, obviously, because it's a very influential country in the world, it is still the richest country for now. So, of course, what happens there is going to have repercussions elsewhere in the world. And we already see that with, he's making noise about going to, like, Panama and taking over Canada. Look, I don't think, probably, like, maybe even none of that will happen. But the fact that he's saying these things, that he wants to be this kind of dictator and he wants to expand the American empire, that seriously needs to freak the hell out of you. Okay? Well, of course, we saw it in other countries as well because there were a lot of elections this year, about 60. In the UK, we saw a change. In France, we almost saw a change. But usually, like in these type of countries, though, you notice that usually the far right gets more influence, more and more influence. It seems that every election they're just kind of growing a little bit, and yeah, it just doesn't look good going forward. And I know why they do that. I know why they're expanding. I know why they're growing in influence, and this is because of kind of uh, long-term failures on the part of governments to kind of safeguard the country, making sure that some people don't get in, etc. So I get that in the states we also have that problem with, especially, well, I would say just the illegal immigrants who are there. And by the way, this is also like this ties in with my what I started, because there's just so much kind of nonsense around that notion of the illegal immigrants, even in the states. People on the right always say, well, these people are there and they can vote. And I'm like, no, they can't, bro. They can't vote. I mean, they're not citizens. So there's just a lot of kind of myths, a lot of, and this fuels a lot of anger. Again, in that group of people that can't think rationally and critically, and they just kind of accept everything at face value, and for them everything is scary. If you just shout that the immigrants are coming to take your job, etc., they get into a panic, and of course they vote for the guy who says that he's going to protect them, when in reality we know that he's not. And also, like, just think about it for a second. Let's say you do have some kind of immigrant coming from the kind of deep parts of, like, I don't know, like Ecuador or something like that. Like, just using as an example, could be Paraguay or Uruguay, but some kind of very deep province, like, like even with no education almost, etc., etc. So somebody like that comes to the States and takes your job, which never happens, by the way, but let's say it did. What does that say, really? Does that say that the country is just, very open to other people, or does it say that you suck and that you are actually worse than somebody who comes from some kind of very deep province somewhere in South America with no education, no English, and they come and take your job? I mean, come on, that's just not realistic. And we know that the only jobs these people take are probably like farming and being some kind of, I don't know, hotel, like in the best case, I mean, hotel janitor or something, or like a janitor in general, maybe cleaning the airport or something, maybe cleaning the hospital. These are the type of jobs these people are going for. These are the type of jobs that most Americans will never go for because they think it's beneath them. And this is not just an American problem. This happens in Europe as well. Like, I grew up in Switzerland, and there was a strong kind of stigma against Portuguese people, because Portuguese people at the time, especially, they had darker skin, so that was bad. They were considered to have bad education, and because also they took these kind of jobs in Switzerland, which are not glamorous jobs, let's be honest. But the fact that these jobs were taken by them is because Swiss people, the kind of white rich Swiss people, they don't want to go for these type of jobs. Okay, so but somebody has to do them. Somebody has to pick up the garbage, and somebody has to clean the streets, and but Swiss people will not do that. So this is not a problem of immigrants. This is a problem of Swiss people who, they just refuse to do these type of jobs, and we see that in the States as well. So yeah, that's kind of on politics. Just to finish off on kind of international relations, well, it's been a disaster, to put it uh, just kindly. Um, I made a video before, actually, just a couple of days ago on TikTok. I know, TikTok. Look, I get barely any views anyway. So, but my video was about why I'm not celebrating in 2024, and part of my reason was actually world events. I'm sorry, but I can't sit on a festive table covered with food, etc., and watching some kind of celebration on TV when in my mind like I don't have to even imagine. I can kind of really picture it, like a lot of people really, really struggling, especially this year, I think. And we've seen like these images, these videos, these horrific videos from Gaza. The war in Ukraine is continuing. There are people who will greet the new year without probably power in their homes. And it's freezing cold there because it's like winter in Ukraine. Um, it's freezing cold, and they're sitting around, best case scenario, with some kind of heater, makeshift heater, maybe candlelight. And but that's still kind of that's still something. But like Gaza is just like completely wiped out. I'm sure you've seen, again, videos and images. It's not just kind of, Israel didn't just precision target, okay? They just kind of destroyed the whole area, and it's in ruins. Like, these people don't even have like an apartment to go back to, because there's not even like without windows or anything. Like, the whole thing is just gone. So when I think about all of that, I'm sorry, but my conscience just kicks in, and I can't like have a good time. And I know that people will say, well, violence always happened, and some people always live in shitty conditions. There's always wars and rape, etc., etc. Sure, and I get that. Um, but and then they finish that usually by saying, well, but you have your own life and you have to celebrate your own life, etc., etc. I understand all of those arguments, and if you want to go ahead and celebrate, go ahead. But I'm just explaining to you my point of view, and how I came to that conclusion. Okay, and I just feel horrible. I'm obviously not responsible for what's going on. I'm just sitting in Japan making gaming videos most of the time, so I'm not really sure what impact I have. But it still makes me feel guilty if I were to celebrate, which is why I don't. Syria had an overthrow of government very recently, actually. I think it happened in December, didn't it? So Assad, who was in power for like, I don't know, forever, him and his family before him, they were pretty much removed in I don't know, in a week or something. The problem is, like, look, Assad is obviously a piece of shit, okay? Let's not beat around the bush. He's a piece of crap. The problem is, though, in a lot of these regions, every time like a dictator is removed, a strong man, let's say, is removed, uh, the person who comes in next is often even worse. So this is not me just kind of imagining it. This is like a reality. We saw that happen in Iraq. We saw it happen in Afghanistan. We saw it happen in Libya and many other countless examples. So, of course, I hope the best for Syria, but I just I just don't see it. So I hope it's good. Look, I always hope for the best, right? I always hope for the best. I'm this kind of person. But I also always expect the worst. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Apart from that, I'm not really sure international events. So yeah, there's not much else in here. They also mentioned here, of course, the tensions in the region. So it's not just Israel and Gaza, but Israel also went into Lebanon, and they had this rocket exchange with Iran. They also, for some bizarre reason, I don't know, like, even how that's acceptable, to be honest with you, but I don't even know what's going on anymore in the world. It seems like there's no rules anymore. It's just everybody grabbing whatever they want. So after the Assad regime fell, there's a bunch of countries that started to go into Syria for some reason. Like, I think Turkey did, and the US already has a presence there, and then like Israel took a portion of Syria, and I'm just like, what's going on here? Syria, so okay, countries are coming to take over Syrian land. So Syria doesn't have the right to defend itself. I don't know. But anyway, it's just bizarre. I don't even know what's going on anymore. It seems that just the world is, it's not really even the world, it's just the people in power, I think, are losing their minds. That's what's happening. And that's very dangerous in the nuclear era. For the natural disasters, well, there's a couple of here. It's interesting because I searched on the internet and it gave me a list, but it's a pretty selective list. I know there's more that happened, but anyway, let's just go through a few of them. So was this cyclone Chido, who hit Africa, south East Africa, I believe. Also hit the island of Mayotte, which is kind of a French territory. And when it happened, CNN especially reported there could be like hundreds and thousands of dead. Well, the official death count at the moment I'm making this video is 39. Look, it's bad. Even one person is bad, okay? But this is definitely far from the hundreds and the thousands that CNN was crying about. Although, to be fair, I don't know if you've seen images of Mayotte, but it's kind of like the bare minimum of buildings, okay? This is like a shanty town. And yeah, going through the rubble will take time. So maybe the death count will rise. But to also, I will say this: even in Japan, it happens every time there's some kind of big typhoon coming here. The uh, the media starts to scream and shout about it, and they're like, especially even after it passed, they're like, "Oh, be careful because like hundreds and thousands of people will die." And then like after it passes, it's only like I don't know, 5 people dead or something, right? So I'm just I'm just questioning the media's kind of honesty, if you want. I know they're trying to warn people, and that's cool, and they should do that. But when it comes to the post event, they always seem to kind of exaggerate it. And I'm not even sure where they're getting the numbers from. I honestly don't know. It's like they just kind of pick numbers at random to scare people. So I'm not sure what's going on there. There was a strong earthquake in Vanuatu. Vanuatu is another place where, it's like kind of low developed place. But again, strong earthquake, 7.4. Uh, but as far as I know, the death toll I think was under 20 people. So again, scary event, very powerful earthquake, obviously. But I think like in general, I would say it's very kind of rare these days that, and that's a good thing, of course, but it's very rare that disasters cause kind of mass casualty. Maybe it's because we have better warning systems now and people are more aware, people are more ready. We don't know. I think it's a combination of everything, to be honest. But of course, it's good that less people are dying. The one thing that they didn't mention here is that big storm they had in Spain. I think it was in Valencia, where you've probably seen images of like cars just kind of washed up in the street and piled up. But again, as far as I'm aware, the death toll was. Look, I feel bad for the cars. Rest in peace, cars. But as far as I know, the death toll though was very, very low. And again, that's a good thing because at the end of the day, we're trying to preserve human lives. So that's kind of for the natural disasters. And of course, I just want to finish off here because I made my entire course on climate change, which is available for free. You can see it on this channel, by the way, if you scroll down somewhere. I just want to say that these events, uh, we call them natural disasters, but they're really fueled by human made climate change, human enhanced climate change, I should say, because we keep pumping out, and this hasn't stopped, by the way, this year. It's been as bad as ever. We keep pumping out large amounts of gases into the atmosphere, greenhouse gases. We keep like hypercharging the oceans, we keep packing the oceans with heat content. There is some kind of like statistic which used to exist. I'm not sure if it still exists or not, but we used to add maybe like 3 to 4 Hiroshima atomic bombs worth of heat content into the oceans every single second. So I don't know if you can picture that. Probably not. Even for me, it's a bit difficult to imagine, but that's what we're doing to the oceans like every second. And of course, as you can imagine, in the long run, in the beginning, it's negligible, right? But every time you're building up this ladder, and eventually you're going to reach a critical point from which you can't recover anymore. So, yeah, I would say, look, maybe these things would have happened either way, but I think they happened also because they were made worse, I would say, by climate change, for sure. So technology, I would say for me, um, the big thing probably is still AI. AI has made huge leaps in 2024. I know this because I've been working with AI music, and the service that I used, they recently introduced like a new model, and it sounds actually really, really good. Even the previous model was not bad, to be honest, but the new model is even better. And yeah, it's look, I remember kind of the early days of that where it would create some kind of melody. Well, you can't even call it a melody because it was just chaos. It was just kind of notes, random notes, and maybe there was somewhat of a melody in there, but it was just overshadowed by chaos, you know? But these days, it's like you can. Oh, I write my lyrics, okay? So that's kind of my thing. I write my lyrics, but then the rest is done by AI. So I'm kind of advertising more as somebody who writes lyrics. That's the whole point. I don't have a studio. I don't know musicians. Well, I do know musicians actually, but I don't have access to them. I don't have the money, but I want to. This has been kind of my childhood dream in a way to make music. And I know that it's AI, but it is just a lot of fun to see what you wrote come to life, I would say. So yeah, of course I know there's a lot of people who abuse that, uh and obviously that's not good, but if you use it kind of ethically, I think I don't see any issue really. It's just about, yeah, it's a big debate about uh what is ethic and what is not. Sports events this year, it's just been, as far as I know, the Paris Olympics, which was mired in controversy for various reasons. I'm gonna skip all of that, to be honest. I'm just gonna say I didn't care. I just nothing. I I don't know. Like they tried to introduce it more to the young audience. They introduced that breakdancing, for example, and this look. I mean, this is just to appeal to the young generation. There is nothing else there. It was a complete flop, by the way. But I think the whole Olympics was a flop in general. I don't know why. When I was a kid, I used to enjoy watching it. It was fun. Uh, but now, I don't know. I still watch some sports. I still watch like football. When I was young, I also used to watch football. That hasn't changed. But when it comes to the Olympics, like just something is lost, you know? And I can't quite put my finger on what, but it just doesn't feel the same. I don't feel excited really. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. Yep. And we're gonna finish off with some people who kind of passed away or something happened to them. Well, of course, the Assange saga came to an end. He was finally released after agreeing to a US plea deal. I don't think any of that should have happened, to be honest with him. Um, I know the video, the particular video that he published, okay? Because I reviewed that video on my show live on my show many, many years ago, obviously, almost like a decade ago. And what is in that video? So you see this, helicopter far, far away. They see some kind of target. I think it was in infrared. I'm not sure. Like I'm not sure actually. It's infrared because infrared, I believe, is kind of red color. So this was like a video where it was like gray and white, I would say. So I'm not sure what you call that. I forgot the technical name, but anyway. So yeah, they're hovering someone somewhere like miles away. They're looking through the camera. They're seeing these people moving around, and these were a couple of Reuters reporters, which is a news agency. So one of them was carrying a tripod, and they're trying to talk, I think, to a bunch of fighters or something like that. And so what happened is that the U.S. said, "Okay, these are actually all terrorists. We need to take them out." So the guy carrying the tripod was assumed to be like a RPG or something, like a rocket launcher. RPG, is that actually the right name? I'm not sure. But anyway, rocket launcher. And they just kind of wiped everybody out, including the two reporters. That's a crime. Uh, Somebody needs to get punished for that. And as far as I know, nobody did. This is not the first time. The US Army commits a lot of war crimes and nobody gets punished for that. So, yeah. So, in my opinion, it's good that that video was seen because people, it just gives more kind of, it actually provides actual evidence, visual evidence that the US is committing war crimes and the US Army is covering it up later and nobody gets punished, right? So that's on him, but he got released at least, so that's good. I'm not sure. Maybe he'll get poisoned in the future. I hope not, but you never know with these people. In Russia, Alexei Navalny died in prison. Um, this was expected, really. I think the moment he went to jail, pretty much, because he went to Germany, I think, then he came back to Russia. He was arrested upon landing, and he went to jail, pretty much. But I knew that from that point on, even from day one, he's not going to make it out alive. That was like obvious. And also, like, we don't know actually if he was indeed a prominent Russian opposition leader, because unfortunately there's really no number on that. The Russian like propaganda just completely covers it up, and of course they will downplay him all the time. They will say like, well, actually, he was polling like at 1% or something like that. That's not serious. But in reality, though, we don't know. We don't know. We'll probably never know, because it's just like it's buried by the state propaganda. Like, unless they go away and somebody like independent looks into the data, then we'll know maybe. But we know that they're not going away, so we'll never know. But anyway, he died in prison, and with that death, it just means that Putin gets a little bit more power. Every time he kills an opponent, it means that he has less people to fight against, less voices, and every time he just gets more power, more power, more power. So the king, unfortunately, has gained more power. And just very recently, that happened, I think, last night. Of course, Jimmy Carter died at 100. So Jimmy Carter was a president, a one-term president. If you're talking to the right, many people would say that he was a very weak president, but then again, they say that about every Democrat, really. But in particular, about Carter, they say. And I think that there are certain arguments for that, sure. But he also did a lot of good stuff after he retired, or he retired. He wasn't president. I know that he built many, many homes for the homeless. You can see many photos of him like building, hammer in the hand. So yeah, I wish like more presidents did that, because it seems like a lot of them just kind of fade away, and we never hear about them. But then like every 4 years, during the convention, it's like Bill Clinton comes back and Obama comes back, and especially like Bill Clinton in his case. we just don't need these kind of fossils. We really don't. And especially some of the things that he was saying in the past few months were actually wrong, especially about Gaza. So yeah. All right, guys, I think that's kind of it. I'm just gonna very quickly uh, check once again if I missed something, but I don't think I did. Um, yeah, there were a couple of, again, technology advances, gene therapy. Apparently, 5 previously deaf children gained the ability to hear through advancements in gene therapy. So I'm looking forward to the science in the new year. Obviously, it's going to go forward. It's going to evolve because we have some very bright minds, at least in those fields. But unfortunately, though, I feel 2025 is going to be overshadowed by very bad politics, uh, potentially more wars, and of course, natural disasters fueled by climate change are most likely going to get worse. So that's kind of my prediction based on the data from 2024. Okay, so I might be wrong, of course, but I think it's a pretty fair assessment in general. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Again, like I said, I'm not celebrating anything, but if you do, you know, more power to you. Have a happy new year, and yeah, we'll just see what happens next year. And I'll be back sometime. I'm just not sure when because I'm just very, very busy. There's a lot of stuff to do. I don't. It's hard to find the time. I often don't have the energy, which is another problem. But I'll try. I'll try to make more content here. But like I said, also I'm very busy right now making content for other channels. Okay, so that takes kind of time, priority at the moment. But I will try. I will try here as well. All right. Thanks for watching. Catch you next year sometime, and peace.